Now's the time for a great deal on a new Honda. It's time to take an adventure with rugged capability and commanding style. Check out the Honda Ridgeline, Pilot, Passport, or CR-V. For a limited time, well-qualified buyers can get a 1.99% APR on a 2025 Ridgeline or a 3.99% APR on a 2025 Pilot, 2026 Passport, or 2025 CR-V.
See dealer for financing details.
Now more than ever, Lowe's knows you don't just want a low price, you want the lowest price. And with our lowest price guarantee, you can count on us for competitive prices on all your home improvement projects. If you find a qualifying lower price somewhere else on the same item, we'll match it. Lowe's, we help, you save. Price match applies to same item. Current price at qualifying retailers. Exclusions and terms apply. Learn how we'll match price at lowes.com/lowest price guarantee.
This is VSiN By The Books on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We begin hour number 2. It is VSiN By The Books. I'm Dave Ross here in downtown Las Vegas. Our closer, Jensen Lewis, back home in Cleveland, Ohio. Jensen, we get to take our weekly flight across the big pond to catch up with our guy, Billi Bhatti. Give him a follow at SGP Soccer. Joins us here in the Progressive Guest Line. Billy, great to see you here on this Friday morning for us here back stateside. We got to ask you, are you in a diner? Because it looks fantastic wherever you're coming to us from today.
I am in my friend's kitchen. So I only use one mechanic. I only trust one mechanic. And this morning, even he failed my MOT because of my wheels. So I needed to get new wheels, and I couldn't get back to where I live. So I using my friend's kitchen. But I keep going to the same mechanic. It's like a good woman. You have to keep hold of that mechanic. And I got down on one knee for this mechanic years ago. So I have to come all the way out here because he's the only person I trust not to rip me off.
I'll tell you this. My brother-in-law told me the only 3 things you need in life are a good mechanic, a good woman, and a good accountant. I have not found one yet for any of those 3, Billy. So I'm still waiting for those big 3 to come home. You're looking good over there.
That's the biggest parlay in the game, right? That's the biggest parlay you can hit.
Yeah, that pays to infinity if you can get those, my man. Let's get to it here, guys, with the Premier League. We've reached the final weekend of it. We know that right now a champion was crowned weeks ago. So what is at stake here, Billy, going into this weekend?
What's at stake is the final 2 Champions League spots. Liverpool have already qualified because they're champions. Arsenal have qualified in 2nd position. But there are places up for grabs for 3rd, 4th, and 5th position. The ones who don't get it will get Europa League, which Man United and Spurs just played in the final. And then 7th will get Europa Conference League. They look like there will be more positions available, but it needed Man City to win the Cup because Man City are already going to get a European place, and then they don't need to use their Cup place. But Palace took the Cup space, and Tottenham have got a Champions League space. So it looks like it'll only go down to 7th, but an 8th place team can still get European football if Chelsea if Chelsea use their European spot. If Chelsea need the European spot. So if Chelsea qualify for the Champions League, then 8th place won't get it. But if Chelsea needs to qualify for Europe via winning the Europa Conference League, which gets them into the Europa League, then it will go all the way down to 8th. So long story short, it is complicated. You do need to have a diploma to understand it. But essentially, to keep it simple, all the Premier League teams who are trying to get into 8th position want Chelsea to lose, and then they want them to win the Europa Conference League so that Chelsea get into the Europa League via the Europa Conference League winning instead of automatically qualifying via the Premier League. So they'll all be hoping for Forest, and then they'll be supporting the same team they want to lose this weekend on Wednesday. So that's the easiest way to surmise it.
Yeah, remarkable, right? Because it's so much surrounding the Europa League here, Billy, and it is foreign to not see United on that top 8 of the table there for the Premier League. Of course, we know that they lost that final just days ago, but now got to come back and host Aston Villa. First of all, recap your thoughts on that match beforehand and that loss for Man U, and also how do they rebound here at a critical match against Villa?
Oh, I have been trolled for days. Like I don't get any more engagement for anything than when Man United fails. So It doesn't matter how many winners I give out. Like there has been a load of people having a lot of fun in the last couple of days. But this is the thing. It was acceptable. Everybody was accepting of this until it wasn't, because there was still a route back to Europe, still a route back to the Champions League, still a route to save the season, even though the players and the managers have said, no, this won't save our season. It's not acceptable for Man United. But the supporters are very forgiving, because we put up with a lot of rubbish over the last decade since Fergie left. But my understanding is from having the inside track to Man United, because I go to most of the home games, that it's going to be very, very toxic in that stadium. People are ready to rebel against the team. We have a big group of Oriental fans who the players come in 4 hours before the game. And these Oriental fans are really, really super fans. And they get to the barriers when the players are coming in 8 hours before kickoff to get their selfies and their autographs. I'm hearing that the hardcore Manchester United supporters, basically, as you know them as the hooligans, they are keen to occupy these spaces to let the players know what they think about them on their way into the game. I don't know how this team are going to get up for this game after losing that cup final, having your supporters turn on you. A home game feels like a road game here in this situation. And Man United are like a bowling ball this season. They don't bounce back.
Sounds like Maple Leaf fans north of the border in hockey here, Billy, that they want to ride against their team after losing. We know that maybe the biggest match this weekend could be Nottingham Forest here against Chelsea, separated by just 1 point here. What do you make of this matchup this weekend, and how important is this game?
The two games tie together because Aston Villa, if you look at the league table, and you guys have brilliantly got it right up there, so well done to whoever did that. Because it makes it so easy for me to just say, if you just look at it, Aston Villa are looking to capitalise on whoever loses in this match, or if they draw against each other, because Aston Villa are in a position to leapfrog from there. Aston Villa have done their job. They've climbed the table. They've won 8 out of the last 9. They're coming up against a Man United team who have only beaten Ipswich and Leicester in their last 14, and Man United haven't scored in 3 matches. So the Forest-Chelsea game becomes a playoff almost to see who gets through to the Champions League. Forest, they've relinquished their position. Brilliant at the beginning of the season, but in the final hurdle, they've fallen. They come into this game now as an underdog at home. They've lost 3 of the last 4 at home. While Chelsea have the momentum, they've won 6 of their last 7 overall. I think that out of looking at these 2 games simultaneously, the pick that I'd probably want to most part would be Villa on the money line, because I just don't see how Man United recover. But you would have to favour Chelsea winning 6 out of their last 7 against the Forest team, who are collapsing. But at the same time, Chelsea are looking ahead to a major cup final on Wednesday. But football's all about money these days, and there's much more money qualifying for the Champions League than there is winning the Europa Conference League. So there's absolutely no way they'll pull any punches here, and they'll go all out for the win in Nottingham on Sunday. Then that is the most important game.
It's going to be a fun one to watch, no question about it. Billy, I know we asked you last time, but a week from tomorrow, we get the Champions League final out there in Germany, Inter and PSG. It is fascinating to see, just kind of how the time off could maybe benefit a side or another. But do you stick with PSG to get this thing done, knowing that they have the tools, they have the weapons to be able to be that side that really imparts their will?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, hopefully we can just flick back to the EPL before we close out, but because there is still a couple more angles to cover. But as for that Champions League, which I'll talk more about next week, I did say on the show when asked about it, if Inter get themselves in the same position, which would have been Napoli wrapping up the league early, then I feel that they would find a way to grind that game out, because the occasion would be too big for Paris. Now we're in a situation where Inter are playing on their final day of the season today. They're still in the title race. Last week, incredibly, Inter Milan had their hands on the trophy for 6 or 7 minutes, and then they conceded a very controversial penalty to Lazio that was awarded via VAR. Lazio ended up getting a draw. Napoli didn't score in that game. Napoli drew 0-0. But Inter Milan, they unbelievably went back to the top of the league for 7 or 8 minutes, and they blew it. So it's going to be really interesting today to see what happens. Inter travel to Como. Napoli are at home to Cagliari. Cagliari are one of those teams I think are on the beach. So But at the end of the day, Inter have been made to play till the last second. And I think they're going to suffer an emotional letdown today. And I think now I heavily favour PSG. PSG have been my pick since the start of the tournament, by the way. I just felt that that he would bring it together without Mbappe there. Looked like a horrible pick when they were struggling through the group stages, but now they've beaten Liverpool. I mean, they've been the English slayers. I've loved watching them just get through these English teams round by round. Inter have definitely had the more difficult path, but I feel like PSG's name's written on the trophy. They have more match winners in their team.
Billy, there's a rumor that you're coming back across the big pond, maybe back here to Sin City. What do you got coming up here in the coming weeks and months?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing a World Club Cup preview, the Club World Cup preview for the Sports Gambling Podcast Network in LA. So I will be looking to come across, if everything lines up, I'll come across in studio and I'll preview the Club World Cup in person.
I absolutely love that. We loved having you in studio last time around. And for people that do not know how to access your information, Billy, where do they get it on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network?
Yeah, so I'm the host of the Soccer Gambling Podcast. I'll be covering all of these EPL games. One angle I missed out and I wanted to give you guys was that in 3 of the last 10 seasons, there have been over 1.5 goals in all of these games on a final day. So it is usually just a goals bonanza. If you parlay that together, it's about plus 550.
Ooh.
You just need 2 goals or more in every single game, and it's cashed 30% of the time in the last 10 years. So I'll be talking more about this over on the Soccer Gambling Podcast. You can follow me at SGB Soccer or head to my website, lockbane.com. That's where I give out my tracked and transparent plays with 143 months in a row of profit.
All right, that's fantastic. Very quickly, we have about 30 seconds to go here. Since you're at your buddy's flat, do you have to make him breakfast or something for using his place? How does that work?
No, it was just a case of it was literally a phone call that said, I'm caught short. I'm between home and the garage, and can I just pop in and do a 10-minute show quickly? So, I mean, he's probably just going to want my bet. He's probably just going to want my betting card for the weekend. That's it. That'll be the exchange.
You got to give him all your information, Billy. We appreciate you, man. Have a great weekend. We'll catch up again next week.
Thanks, guys.
There he is, Billi Bhatti, everybody. Again, give him a follow there on X at SGP Soccer. Fantastic stuff. As always, when we come back, we'll get to our number 2's highlights and headlines. That is next.
Now's the time for a great deal on a new Honda. Check out the Honda Prologue, Accord Hybrid, or Civic Hybrid. For a limited time, well-qualified buyers can get a 0.99% APR on a 2025 Prologue, a 2.99% APR on a 2025 Accord Hybrid, or a 4.99% APR on a 2025 Civic Hybrid.
See dealer for financing details. Exclude Civic Si and Type R.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.
Tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We continue VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis. A lot of fun having Billi Bhatti join us across the big pond from parts undisclosed. And then earlier, we had Thomas Gable join us from the Borgata. Great conversations, as always, with those gentlemen to kick off our day today. Of course, we're going to have Zachary Cohen and Jonathan Davis going to join us here in hour number 3 as well. So a lot more to get to here. Jensen, my sister is in town. Came in last night.
Oh, nice.
From Charlottesville.
Yes.
And as she's flying in from Charlottesville, who does she run into at the airport? Tony Bennett, UVA.
Oh, yeah.
Just the former national championship head coach from UVA. And they strike up a conversation. You know, they said, my brother does this, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, you must get noticed everywhere you go. And you know what Tony Bennett's response was? It doesn't happen as often anymore. Like Tony Bennett feels like he's already out of the limelight a little bit. I'm like, dude, when you win a national championship at Virginia, I don't think you're going unnoticed. Certainly, my sister noticed him at Charlotte. Like, once you win, like, do people, when you're out and about, are people like, there's Jensen Lewis. I know that guy. He was a closer for the Indians.
I got recognized. We used to do a trivia show up here called Beer Money. And I would get recognized, at least in the last probably 4 to 5 years that we did the show. More people like, hey, it's the Beer Money guy. and Michelle and I would always laugh walking away. And she's like, I don't think people remembered, that you really. Now, you get your super fans, you know, you get your diehards that, hey, I remember watching you play. It's more so the people now that have kids that tell their kids, they're like, hey, I grew up watching him play. And I'm like, okay, now I feel old. Now I feel super old. Like, okay. All right. But hey, finally, we got to put a bow on this. I need to get a Tommy Shelby outfit. If Billy's coming in studio, by order of the Peaky Blinders.
You nailed it. By the way, Billy's, it's just fantastic. Billy could just, read an encyclopedia and I'd listen, right? The kid, I do hear a lot of you in Billy. Like you nailed the accent so well. So if you do rock that outfit and you get like a wig, I might think you're Billi Bhatti in studio. I wouldn't know the difference.
Wow. I just need to get to VSiN, the VSiN on the track with that. To people understand that reference from Peaky Blinders.
Oh yeah, they will. Let's get to it. Hour number 2, our highlights and headlines.
Help your bottom line with today's highlights and headlines.
I really did love the Chappelle Show when it was on a couple decades ago. Right? It was for that generation. It was fantastic, right? And the skit that he did on Prince being a basketball player and game blouses, and that's why we have that here for the highlight and the headline as the Thunder dominant again in Minnesota. It's not looking so good. Right now, 118-103 is the final in Game 2, so it does go over that total, clearing that late in the fourth quarter. And again, if you were laying it with OKC, I don't know that you ever sweated it as they win by 15. Never even felt truly after the third quarter that close after an 8-point game at halftime. Jensen, it's one of those questions of, we're looking for drama. We're getting it all in the Knicks and Pacers, all the drama we could handle in Game 1. Through 2 games here, we're not getting a whole lot. Will it change this weekend? It better change for Minnesota, or else this could be a really quick series. Look at the total games now and the pricing. 5-game series, plus $1.85. 6, do you really think it's going 6? Plus $4.75. And 7, plus $4.25. I think people thought it would be a much longer series, and I'm wondering if people don't have that same opinion after watching the first 2.
Yeah, and I think the only angle now, if you're a T-Wolves fan in the series market, is to do the exacta at 17-1. If they're going to do it, it probably goes the distance. And I mean, how can you beat this Thunder team four games in a row the way that they've locked down defensively when they've needed to? So that would be my moment of trepidation there. If you feel that all of a sudden Minnesota flips a switch and go. Can they cover here in Game 3? I think so. We'll probably wait till tomorrow morning to take a little bit more of a deeper dive on where some of the money is. Right now, though, if you want to jump in, favorable spot here. It looks like some sharp side, 34% of the bets, 55% of the money on the Timberwolves plus 3.5. So nothing crazy, but still, a distinct advantage right now if you want to jump in on the T-Wolves and the spread.
And that Game 3 number is close to what it was for Game 2, 217.5. Remember, Game 1 was a dead under. This one gets over a little bit later. And right now, 3.5, as you mentioned, home dogs here for Minnesota. So you would have to think, man, if they're going to have any fighting chance, it comes in a Game 3 here after the first 2 have gone by the way of OKC at home. It's not going well for the home team in the Eastern Conference Finals of the Stanley Cup as Carolina, again, sometimes it's not losing, it's the manner in which you lose. The Bobber, Sergei Bobrovsky, fantastic. A shutout performance here, 5-0. Florida for the defending champions, looking all the bit in the part of it. Carolina's now lost 14 straight Eastern Conference Final games. I know they've been you kind of bristle at that notion. Well, some of those were overtime games. Not these. They're getting wiped out so far in the first two at home. The under does cash last night at 5.5. But again, if you had the Panthers on the money line, plus $1.14, even the reverse puck line, you cash those easily. What do we make of this? I don't want to say it's over because obviously if you're Carolina, you got this far, you got to have some belief you can go down there to Sunrise and at least get one and force at least a Game 5 back in Carolina. But Jensen, there's really like no signs of optimism right now through two games.
Yeah, and as I said, it might be curtains for me, putting my hard-earned Benjamins on Carolina in any sort of fashion here. I think it's more disappointing that you get embarrassed in Game 1 the way that you did, knowing you had at least a little rest advantage. Mm-hmm. And it just felt like there was, I think you nailed it, there's no urgency. And when you have the lack of shots on goal, and I get it, Florida's playing well, but if you're a team that feels like you're a contender and I mean, go out and like pace someone to the boards. It gets something to have your bench rally around. It was nothing, man. I mean, as an athlete, that's a disappointing team to watch. It's a disappointing way to see you lose both games on home ice. And yeah, it's probably a stay away for me at this point. I mean, if you're looking ahead and you want to jump in on Game 3, just kind of looking at some of the early numbers here. I mean, I think you could maybe get to the over, but even that is a little bit of trepidation, just knowing that, Carolina's attack is like nothing right now. So, buyer beware if you want anything to do with Carolina right now.
Yeah, we talk about it a lot. Certainly, I know in Stanley Cup circles, like just get shots on the net. 16 saves for the Bobber last night, right? Like 16. That's it. Like, throw some rubber on him, see what happens. But Sergei Bobrovsky, by the way, has been shorted big time in the Conn Smythe market as well, with yet another impressive performance. 650. Remember, we talked about it. Like I said, hey, if you like Florida, minus $1.25 to begin the series. And now it's minus 650. So, again, kind of go through these exercises here. Hopefully you got in at the $1.25 price because it looks like all one-way traffic right now for Florida. And I'm sure they wouldn't mind a short series here. And, by the way, do we like this if we get Florida in Edmonton? I know Edmonton's got they're a little bit of a hole to climb out of here against Dallas down 0-1. But would we mind that like we get to see this again from a year ago?
I wouldn't mind from an entertainment standpoint. Yeah. I don't know if we get that. I mean, Rachel Dory nailed it a couple weeks ago, right? When she's like, I think the exacta is Florida and Dallas. And barring something completely ridiculous tonight, you now got Jake Ottinger who thinks he can stop anything. Mm-hmm. And that's always a tough netminder to beat. Conversely, Stuart Skinner is going to have to, I don't know if they just hang signs in the locker room and says it's Game 4. So that it's in his head where he's like, wait, I thought it was Game 2. No, it's Game 4. Oh, okay. All right. Now I'll turn it on here. I just still think Dallas is going to be too much. It may not be, the 5 goals in the third period to get it home. I hope it's not. But yeah, I still think Dallas the better side here.
And very quickly, too, to round out this hour's highlights and headlines, the Nuggets have made it official, and David Adelman is going to be the permanent head coach in Denver for next year. Rounded out the regular season 3-0 after Michael Malone was shown the door. Did get the Nuggets to a Game 7. I saw a lot of people, though, say, man, Jokic is now coaching the team. What's your takeaway there, going with the youngster in Adelman and saying, all right, we're going to move on from Michael Malone, and this is going to be an upgrade? I don't know if that's going to be, in fact.
I know that the NBA is so different with players that have the influence that they do.
Yep.
But Jokic doesn't strike me as a LeBron narcissistic type of I got to have my hands in control of everything. Right. I think he's worried about his ponies right now and drinking beer. And I think when he needs to come back, you would have seen some sort of outburst or some sort of public, resentment, at some point throughout the rest of this postseason if Jokic didn't like it.
Yeah, I think he wants a coach that's going to coach. He doesn't want to do that job as well. Edge Boost, they're going to do a good job for you as a first ever bank account that's built just for bettors. It ensures all of your gambling transactions are always approved. No usage fees, no minimums. Earn cashback rewards, 100% approval for all your betting deposits. Sign up today, edgeboost.bet. Use the promo code BOOK. Deposit $25. Edge Boost going to match that deposit. That's edgeboost.bet.
VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We're back, VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis here on this Friday edition of. And Jensen, it is funny. Like, you get so, at least I do, I get conditioned to the grind. And I'm sure you did certainly as a player, to Major League Baseball, the cadence of the season as it goes. And with no Reds baseball yesterday, no Royals baseball for me to monitor for our May wins, which, by the way, I mean, I'm kind of giving up on it. It feels like it's clearly done. And look, we're going to do it for next month. Have you already started to look ahead a little bit to the June schedule? Because we're going to get that 24-hour window next week or what, in about 8 days or so, and then have to get those wagers in quickly. Are you starting to look a little bit to next month?
Yeah, I'm probably going to, when I jump on the plane next week to go wherever my regional assignment is for college baseball, I'll probably use some of that time to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm very intrigued, too, from the weather situation here. And also, we saw some of the conditions down at George Steinbrenner Field now in that day game between the Astros and the Rays. And a lot of people now are starting to put that with Wrigley Field conditions where the wind affects it similarly, if not more. And that's wild to wrap my head around. You and I know, Brandon Valesky there in Chicago knows that when we look at the weather for anything in the summer, wind blowing in, wind blowing out,
check
Wrigley
those
Field
flags.
is
Absolutely
so sensitive. So to think that now some of the metrics are bearing that out for George Steinbrenner Field there when Tampa plays its home games, again, something to watch as you're handicapping that schedule. Yeah.
Again, if you don't want to get into the day in, day out grind of betting Major League Baseball, Jensen and I will give you a couple, little carrots there for next month as well. So we'll get ready for that next week. But let's get to it without further ado. Today's edition of the Daily Diamond. Nationals got a nice win yesterday over the Braves. Giants, a little struggle bus against Kansas City in their 3-game set. What do you make of this new series beginning tonight?
All right, speaking of the weather and totals, how about up, and away? We focus on the Nats and the Giants as they get underway in our nation's capital tonight. So the Giants, Dave, 16-7-1 to the over as the road team. That is the best mark in Major League Baseball. Put that with the Nationals, who are 13-9-1 to the over as a home team. Ooh. That is third best in the National League. Let's add it together. Let's see some offense tonight. Elliot Ramos has been on fire here the last couple of weeks, 2 or more total bases. We got that at plus $1.05. That's over at FanDuel. So make sure you're checking a couple of the different books to get the best price. James Wood, 2 or more total bases. It's high, Dave. It's plus $1.90 on DraftKings, but for a guy with one swing and his speed, I'll take the matchup considering that the starting pitching tonight would be pretty advantageous for an over as well. Landon Roop, Mackenzie Gore has had nights where, it's been tough. So total in that game is at 8. Is shaded slightly to the under at $1.12. Over is $1.08 at DraftKings, but I think we get some offense from a couple of those guys in the middle of the order tonight. I'm glad you mentioned the pitching matchup because I wanted to ask you about Mackenzie Gore because he does feel like he's got high-end stuff. Like we all see it, like maybe sleeper Cy Young type stuff. But Jensen, when it doesn't work, why doesn't it work? Because he's not that guy game in, game, start in, start out. There you go. Oh, he's just shoving out there like Hunter Brown does every time. Yeah, and there's been times you can kind of look at his game logs, right? His home starts. We all remember the opening day one where he had 13 punch-outs against Zach Wheeler and the Phillies. That was a losing effort, but he went 6 innings, gave up 1 hit. Then he backed that up his next home start against the Dodgers, 2 runs in 6 innings. Baltimore, 2 runs in 6 innings there at the end of April. St. Louis got to him a little bit, 4 runs in 6 2/3, and they did hit a couple of homers. But he's been relatively consistent. Now, he has given up a fair amount of hits, too. Gave up 10 in 3 2/3 his last start against. But how about this is the weirdest line I've seen all year. 3 2/3, Dave. Gave up 2 runs on 10 hits.
How is that possible?
And punched out 9. Punched out. So 9 of his 11 outs via the strikeout, but he gave up 10 hits.
10 hits and 2 earned runs? What, did everybody get thrown out at the plate? It's kind of crazy. Let's get to those Redlegs. And sometimes, boy, the Reds frustrate you-know-what out of me when I watch them night in, night out because it just feels like they can be offensively challenged What do you see with the Reds today?
We are seeing a little bit of red if you are in Cincinnati. Now, this may be a little thread the needle game because we do get Hunter Green back off the IL here for Cincinnati. Matthew Boyd going to be the starter for the Cubs. Reds, Dave, 12-4-1 to the under as a home favorite, and they're a home favorite tonight as they take on the Chicago Cubs. They are $1.05, or let's see, $1.15. Might be a flip of favorites by the time it gets to it, but again, there have been some unders here for Cincinnati, and they've been really good. Best in Major League Baseball. In division games, okay, 8-4-2 to the under. That's the third best mark in the National League. I am on the under 8.5, okay, in this game. But I do think the Cubs are able to limit what this Cincinnati offense, and it has been inconsistent. I think they limit what they can do. So I'm also on the Cubs run line, plus $1.50. You can find that at FanDuel as well. Seiya Suzuki, absolutely sparkling numbers in his history against Hunter Green. How about 6 for 13, a double, a triple, a couple homers, good for a .462 average against. And he's been swinging the bat very well as of late. 2 or more total bases to look at for Seiya Suzuki tonight. We
talked about it yesterday, certainly sometimes fading starting pitchers when they're coming back off the injured list a little bit. Is that the concern for a guy like Hunter Green? I can't imagine he's got a long leash, too, in his first game back, right?
I think they would not have brought him back unless they felt he could have as close to a full complement of pitches. You just don't rush a guy back at this point knowing he's so important. So I think he's probably there. It may not be 100. Maybe you just game situation, Tito will kind of watch, if there's been some leverage innings that he's had to work out of. But make no mistake, if he's on, could pile up the strikeouts quickly. I could see this one as a 5-2, Cubs win tonight. Yeah. And, we'll just kind of see what his leash will be as they get through second, maybe third time of the order.
Speaking of K's, it's Paul Skeens Day here for the Buccos against the Phillies. Good interstate rivalry here. What do you make of game one?
All right, the theme is line them up, knock them down. And you got two of the top betting options in the National League Cy Young race. So we get Paul Skeens, you mentioned. They finally scored more than 4 runs in a game yesterday.
And wasted it.
So maybe a little, maybe they wait. Exactly. He's been really good. 6 or more strikeouts in 3 straight starts. We're also going to look to Zach Wheeler as the Phillies will stay out west. They will go against the Athletics, who just got, the brakes beat off them by the LA Angel offense. But we'll have Zach Wheeler continue what has been a torrid road campaign. 7 or more strikeouts in 5 of his 6 road starts. So we're going to go back to our starting pitching strikeout parlay. 6 or more strikeouts for Wheeler and Skeens. You can find that on DraftKings, plus $1.18. We'll parlay Wheeler and Skeens 7 or more strikeouts each. That's at plus 265. So I think we can get home with those guys with some premium swing and miss stuff.
So the Buccos going to be continue that series with Milwaukee. Freddie Peralta's on the bump here from Milwaukee against Skeens there. And then out west, as you mentioned, going up against the Athletics in Sacramento. No starter yet listed for the A's. But I'm looking at this, and this is why we did what we did, Jensen, off the beginning of this conversation for the Daily Diamond. We talked about Philadelphia and that we like them potentially to have the best record so far in May. And this was part of that scheduling part of it to get that done. I'm starting to look at the Phillies, and I keep waiting for the Phillies to come back a little bit, like maybe Atlanta and the Mets. Mets had this divisional lead for the majority of it. Do the Phillies have the staying power? Do they have enough? I know we talk about the back end of the bullpen. Do they have enough in the front end? Because, the names are there with Nolan. Certainly Wheeler's a stud. But do they need another arm if they're really going to be a team that holds down the NL East?
Circle this name. I already picked him up on my fantasy team. Andrew Painter is going to be coming here probably in the next 3 weeks, I would say, if not sooner. For that Phillies rotation. It has been electric stuff down in the minor leagues. He's now at AAA. That's the reinforcement in-house that I think they go to first.
Not news that I wanted to hear as a Metropolitan fan. They've got help on the way in Philadelphia. VSiN is going to help you get through the College World Series, certainly from a betting perspective, in Omaha. Going to be live June 12th through the 14th, broadcasting straight from Rocco's, the iconic home of the Jello Shot Challenge. You can catch money moves, follow the money live from Omaha. Going to bring you the sights, sounds, and best bets for the tournament. And if you're in the neighborhood, stop by, say hello to not only Jensen Lewis, but everybody that's going to be on site there. Jensen, how pumped are you for this road trip to Omaha?
I'm excited because we get to do our show, and then I get to kind of be half working, half a fan, hopping on with Stormy and JVT, Mitch and Paulie, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that my Vandy boys are going to be out there as well. So no bias whatsoever, but let's hope that Tim Corbin and company find their way through their regional.
Any chance of like maybe late show shots at the end, like Jello shots for you guys at the end of the show?
Probably on Friday. Yeah. Friday at the end of my hit for Follow the Money. Absolutely.
One's not going to hurt you. When we come back, a big announcement here at the network made by Derek Stevens yesterday. We'll get to that. That's next. VSiN by the Books.
Now's the time for a great deal on a new Honda. It's time to take an adventure with rugged capability and commanding style. Check out the Honda Ridgeline, Pilot, Passport, or CRV. For a limited time, well-qualified buyers can get a 1.99% APR on a 2025 Ridgeline or a 3.99% APR on a 2025 Pilot, 2026 Passport, or 2025 CRV.
See dealer for financing details.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.
Tuned in to VSiN by the Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN by the Books here. I'm going to have Zach Cohen and Jonathan Davis join us in hour number 3, alongside Jensen Lewis here as we continue this Friday edition of, I mentioned my sister's in town, my nephew's in town from Seattle as well, because we're going hiking in Arizona today. Jensen, you know how hot it is out here in the desert? It's like 1,000 degrees.
Are you guys in the mid-90s yet?
Oh, yeah, baby.
Yeah.
We hit triple digits yesterday. Should I be concerned in my advancing age?
Yeah.
Am I going to be okay?
Well, I mean, hoorah. That's all I got to say.
Come on. Suck it up, devil dog. Let's go. That's what my nephew's going to say. Let's go, Uncle Dave. Pick up the pace. We've got a big announcement here. You see the hats in front of us here for Circa Survivor and Millions. And it was made yesterday on Follow the Money with Mitch and Paul. Of course, Derek Stevens, Mike Palm, Jeffrey Benson, they do an amazing job here. And this contest that has evolved here from Circa, it's the biggest legal sports wagering contest in football in the world. And Jensen, it just got exponentially bigger. Let's hear the big announcement from 24 hours ago.
When you look at the history, in the past 2 years, 2 years ago we guaranteed $8 million and we got to 9.2. Last year we guaranteed 10 and we saw the big leap to 14.2. So this was the debate. What would the guarantee be? And, Derek says we always must move forward. We are moving forward in fourth gear. The guarantee is $15 million.
I mean, he threw out $100 million, and me and Mike really had to walk it back.
First of all, I threw out no guarantee. If you recall the meeting, I said, is it big enough that we don't need a guarantee? And Derek called that one of the most lunatic ideas.
So then Derek throws out 100. I table 15, and that's where we landed.
Did you really throw out 100?
No, they're embellishing. No. Not that I recollect.
Did you ever consider? Did you want a bigger number than 15?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, we have to be reasonable. That last year we guaranteed 10, and then I think a couple things happened. When we thought about it, well, we hit 10. Yeah, we'll hit 10. And I think we did the show with you guys. If well, we hit 11, maybe 12. But it was really the last 10 days where things really took off. We had this show, the Circa Survivor. That documentary came out. And I think that really, really pushed the entries in the last 2 weeks. So we got us to 14.2. So no, I feel pretty good. We guaranteed $10 million last year. Now we're guaranteeing $15 million.
Mm-hmm.
It's the big. Not only the increase in the guarantee is bigger than any other football contest ever.
There it is. It's so well said. It's the biggest guarantee in the history of any football contest. I love the fact that Mike, and by the way, Mike really dresses up nice for Follow the Money. I mean, his appearances with us, Jensen, we love having Mike in studio on Thursdays, but that suit, we don't get that on Thursday mornings, do we?
I mean, we can ask for it. We certainly can. I think we have to tip our cap. The professionalism getting back at the hour that he did to show up live. I think he can wear whatever he wants. Okay, so we were saying before we can't wait to get in. I know that I'll be coming back out there at some point before the year to get all signed up. Not only for Survivor, Circa Millions too. $6 million guaranteed price. So you combine those together, Dave, right? 21 million in guarantees there.
Wow.
So excited to, this will be my first year doing both the Millions and the Survivor. So I can't wait to get out and do it.
This will be my first Survivor season, and I've tried to walk through it in years past, did not do it very successfully. So hopefully this year is going to be, you got to do that weaving path here to try to get there toward that guarantee of $15 million at the end of the year. You saw Grandissimo pop up as well. That's a new contest that Derek and the guys are doing here at Circa. The entry fee for that one, $100,000. We'll see. I know people go, who is going to sign up for Grandissimo? As Derek pointed out, you're going to get some action on that. So that's going to be fascinating to chart the three contests here that we will chart. And Matt Humans does a great job nightly during football season breaking that down as the contest challenge goes. We'll be doing it on our shows here on By the Books. But three contests right here emanating behind me at Circa. Survivor, $15 million. Millions, of course. And again, Grandissimo, if you want to get in that, that's $100,000 entry fee. Jensen, that one is a little bit steep for my money. For me. But for you out there, if that's what you want to do, it is available to you here at Circa. All you got to do is come here and sign up. There are proxy services for people that are out of town, but you do have to, as you mentioned, Jensen, you got to make the pilgrimage out here to sign up the first time, and then if you want to out of state, you can use a proxy service going forward from there.
Yeah, I was reading the newsletter from Bill AD this morning. It sounds like there was already one contestant that has wired money in to come out and sign up for Grandissimo.
Wow.
Not a bad perk package you get with it as well. Round trip flight on JSX. You get the 3-night founder suite stay, the personalized dining experience at Barry's Prime, Stadium Swim, the premium whiskey tasting. You and I could jump in for that. I think you and I, also one of our favorites, the curated dining experience at Andiamo.
We love that place.
The limo service to and from. But the year-long VSiN subscription, the VSiN Live subscription, that to get all our great content for 365 days. Can't wait to break it all down every week, every day. And I keep our fingers crossed that we are alive and well into Thanksgiving and beyond, because, man, what a wild ride that would be.
It's going to be amazing. And for people going, Grandissimo, how did Derek come up with that? He's paying homage to the first emperor of Las Vegas. That was Jay Sarno, who didn't get to get his full vision realized. Really classy move there by Derek, paying homage there to Jay Sarno with that Grandissimo title for the $100,000 entries. Out here in Las Vegas, of course, we've been breaking down every single team's schedule. So naturally here to have the conversation about the Raiders, not too far. I pass Allegiant Stadium. I pass it every morning. It still gets me a little bit fired up looking at them. And look, I liked Antonio Pierce personally, knew him from our DC days, but Pete Carroll taking over, that win total sitting at 6.5. It is juiced to the over at $1.45. I get that, Jensen, that it's like now you've got a guy that's not experienced. I mean, experience would be an understatement for a guy who's a Super Bowl champion like Pete Carroll is. And let's be honest, he's won everywhere he's gone. Even was successful at New England before he went back to SC, won national championships there, wins a Super Bowl title in Seattle. I don't know how quickly potentially he can turn this thing around, Jensen, but if there's ever a coach that I trust and he brings his quarterback right with him, Geno Smith from Seattle, gets him right away, one of his day one moves, and we talk about it, executive orders, that felt like a Pete Carroll executive order here. What do you make of the Raiders going forward?
Yeah, and of course, Ashton Genty, right?
Yeah.
His Marshawn Lynch 2.0, and we know what Pete Carroll wants to do: control line of scrimmage, run the football, be able to move the chains, and control the clock. Again, I'll put my Circa Survivor hat on here, and again, we talked about popular picks. The Broncos certainly will be one hosting the Titans, and Cam Ward in his first NFL game. I know people are going to circle that Commanders and Giants game. I want no part of it. I do think the Giants are going to be extremely motivated to ruin the party early. I think they're for Washington. This first game for the Raiders is also going to be one that I think would be very sneaky. I know it's in Foxborough, new head coach and Mike Vrabel, or at least in his tenure there. So that's an interesting spot. Do you even entertain the Raiders when the Bears come to town in week 4? And just thinking about you're going to have to take a few chances on maybe some mid-level teams, early on, because if you want to save your good ones, that's a strategy to employ here. So again, week 1 kind of jumped out at me a little bit, and also week 4 at home against Chicago.
I'll tell you why I don't, because I've already had friends in Chicago say, hey, coming out. They were waiting on the schedule release to come out. They're like, hey, I'm going to see you. We're coming out for week 4. I'm like, awesome. I was here when the Bears were here last time. It's a home game for Chicago. And that's part of the problem with, like, we talk about it with SoFi, with the Chargers. Do they really have, home field advantage? Once they get their stadium, they will. Even the Rams, to a degree, it feels like you get a lot of the opposing team. That happens here in Vegas a lot, too. And I saw it last year when Justin Fields and the Steelers came here, and it became a home game for the Steeler Nation. I backed the Steelers on that day because the terrible towers were flowing. That Bears game feels tricky to me, that might be a pseudo-Bears home game. Where I look, Jensen, is week 6. That's where I might look for Circuit Survivors. We're talking about here with Derek Stevens and the $15 million guarantee here. I might look to week 6 against a rookie quarterback. But then you've got a month of Cam Ward there in Tennessee. Is that a concern for you if you're looking at the Raiders in week 6?
Yeah, that would, and again, hey, all things being equal, if Cam Ward turns into Jaden Daniels, we get a whole nother problem. So that's why in those first 3 to 4 weeks, if it's a mid-level team, at least on paper, that's why I'd always want to look, okay, you're going to have to slide, through on a couple of these that are sweats, and maybe that week 1 matchup is one that you're zigging when everyone else is zagging.
I will say this too, in win totals, I'm betting coaches and quarterbacks. I trust Gino with Pete. I've seen it. It works for them.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't work for everybody else, but that would be, I can understand why the juice is to the over. We mentioned it here with the proxy service. If you want to get in on these contests, you can do so here. So all you want to do, if you want to play a Circuit Survivor or the Million Contest for free this season, Winner's Circle Proxy is giving away one free $1,000 entry to each contest plus full proxy service. And get this, you're going to be paired with a VSiN host for strategy all season long. Enter now for your chance to win. Just join winnercircleproxy.com/VSiN. That's winnercircleproxy.com/VSIN.
Now's the time for a great deal on a new Honda. It's time to take an adventure with rugged capability and commanding style. Check out the Honda Ridgeline, Pilot, Passport, or CR-V. For a limited time, well-qualified buyers can get a 1.99% APR on a 2025 Ridgeline or a 3.99% APR on a 2025 Pilot, 2026 Passport, or 2025 CR-V.
See dealer for financing details.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.